home of Livingston and Maude Strock in the community of White City on April the 9th, 1989. The interview is being conducted by Carmen Strock, representing the Prattville Reunion Preservation Committee.
When and where were you born?
Born right here, Toga County, White City, White Pond, Alabama.
What date?
March 12th, 1904.
1904. What were your parents' names?
Howell, Maude Strock.
And your mother's name?
Ella, Cassie, Harrison, Thompson, Strock.
How many brothers and sisters did you have?
I had, well, at home I had one brother and 4 sisters.
And where were you in the line?
Last one along.
You were the youngest.
I'm the youngest.
Are there any of your brothers and sisters still living?
Yep, I got 2 sisters still living.
What are their names and ages?
Lillian Gaines, Lillian Edna Gaines, and Maggie Bell Boone.
Where in the family are they? Oldest, youngest? You're the youngest.
I'm the youngest. Maggie's the oldest.
And how old is she?
She's 100 years old.
What was your father's role in the community of White City?
What kind of work he done?
What?
He farmed.
He farmed.
Yeah.
When did he come to White City?
Well, a long way before I was born. So, I was born in 1904, so he must come here a few years just before that.
Tell me something about your childhood that you remember.
About which?
Your childhood.
Well, I was just as mean as the next one.
What kind of games did you play?
Stealing sticks. And, let me see, stealing sticks, and I haven't got that other one.
Who did you play with?
Played with my sister, brother, my neighbors.
Tell me a little about the community of White City when you were a young child. What was in the community?
Nothing.
Was there a store?
When I was a little fellow, there wasn't any store here. An old schoolhouse down here.
Where did you go to school? Tell me about your school
Right
days.
down here in front of the house. Parker Schoolhouse. It didn't have any ceiling in it. It had wires hanging down from the rafters to hang your bucket on to keep the ants out of it.
What bucket?
Syrup or large buckets with your lunch in it.
How many students would you say were in school at that time?
There was about a dozen of us.
Were the boys and girls separated, or?
No, we was all together.
What about church? Did you go to church in those days?
Yeah.
How did the church in the community of White City become established? Did your father have a role in that?
Yeah. My daddy, Lon Davis, Arch Ellington, George Ellington, was organizing that old big tree right up there now.
Do you know what year that was?
No, I don't know. I couldn't tell you what year it was. It's been a long time ago, though.
What were some of your chores as a child? What did you have to do?
I had a little old iron train. It wouldn't even run. And had a little red wagon. And that was the most I had.
All right, when you became a teenager, a young man, did you begin courting?
Well, I was looking at them.
What did you do when you were courting a girl?
Well, we set up, she sat on one side of the room, and I sat on the other side of the room. We talked back and forth to one another.
Was a chaperone present at this time?
Was what?
A chaperone. Did you have to have a chaperone?
Well, most of the time, yeah.
Would that be a parent or?
Can I tell this? I had a date with Edna Davis one time. We were going to had a show here in Prattville, and I was going to carry her down there. Well, when I got up there, out come walking her older sister ahead of her. She was going too, and we did.
How did you go? What kind of
It had an
transport?
old Model T Ford.
Can you remember the first vehicle in White City?
Yeah.
Who had it?
I don't know who it was.
Do you know what it was?
No, I don't even know what kind it was. My daddy had carried a horse to water down here at the Brinks. He come back, and there was some boys here to see my sister. He asked him, he said, "Is your mule scared of a car?" I said, "Well, I don't really know." He said, "Well, I smell gas. There's one coming. So you better get out here and hold him, because it won't be long till he'll be here." Now, he smelled the gas from that car way up the road.
And those were dirt roads in those days.
Hmm?
Were those dirt roads in those
Yeah,
days?
oh, nothing but dirt roads.
How did you meet your wife?
How did I meet her? Oh, well, we had a party down here at the pond. We had a pond down here. We had a party down there, and Maude come down there that night. I think Houston went and got her, didn't he? And Houston went up and got her and Ruth Carver. Come down, we're down there, and we had boiled parched peanuts. Come around, said, "Don't you want to eat some peanuts?" I said, "No, I don't think." He said, "Well, they're not poison." So I fired into them peanuts, and I went to eat peanuts.
All right. Would you introduce us to your wife?
Who introduced us? You know? Gladys Howard. Yeah. Widow woman.
All right. Maude, would you tell us your maiden name?
Maude Lillian Lusk.
And where were you born?
I was born in Calhoun County, a little town in Jacksonville, Alabama.
Well, how did you come to be in White City?
Well, I finished school in Jacksonville, and a friend of mine got this school here in White City. Wanted me to teach school with him here in White City. So we came down in 1925. 25 and 26 was first years I taught up here. And I taught 27, 28. That's 2 years up here, and I met my husband, as he told a while ago about down at the pond. And we went together for about a year and a half, or 2 years, and married.
Where did you marry?
Where did we marry? In Verbena, at his sister. His oldest sister lived in Livington at that time, and we married her house.
Did you have a honeymoon?
We
Yeah.
married at 3 o'clock and got on the train about 4 and went to Jacksonville, my home. And we stayed up there. This was on Thanksgiving. We stayed up there during the holidays and came back, and I went back to teaching and taught the rest of that year.
Describe the schoolhouse in White City to us.
When I first came, we had 3-teacher school. Went through the 9th grade, and we had 3 teachers. And for those 2 years, then I quit teaching after I married. That year I quit teaching, and the school went down to the 6th grade then. And I didn't go back to teaching until my daughter was about 5 years old. I went back to teaching, and with just 2 teachers. My sister-in-law, Carmen Strock, and I taught. I was principal. We taught here for about 12 years. And then they began to
send the children to Marlborough and to Livington. So I went to Marlborough, and she went to Livington.
Do you know what year that was?
I don't remember the year it was.
But that school was discontinued at that
And I
time.
stayed there until I retired.
You mentioned your daughter. Would you tell us how many children you all had?
We had one daughter. We'd been married 10 years, and we had just one child. And she has 2 children, both married. One of her daughters has 2 children.
Can you tell us any unusual, or maybe not unusual, but events that happened while you were teaching? Did you have any?
The first year I taught, I taught in Cleveland County. I've forgotten that, but I did teach in Cleveland County. And there was 3 teachers at that school. I had the 4th, 5th, and 6th. Well, there was a small, well, he was large for his age, boy in my room. He's in 6th grade. And he walked home with us every afternoon. And he just seemed like he just thought the world of me. He just really loved me. And I always talked to him and treated him good. So one day he got mad at me at school. I had to punish him. He went home and he had short pants on. He ran through some briars. He lived with his granddaddy, and he told his granddaddy that I had whipped him on his legs and made those scratches. So his granddaddy came up to school, and I said, "Oh, I whipped him, but I didn't whip him like that." And so the principal talked to him, got the old man settled, told me he knew I didn't hurt him like that, scratches. Well, it went on to just before school was out. He came to me with a small key about 1.5 inches long and said, "With love," and said, "I want you to have this key." I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, I told a story about my whipping and said, I just wanted to tell you that you really didn't whip me like that." So I went through some briars and tried to scratch my legs to make them think you whipped me. So I still have that little key.
Did you have any famous visitors at the schoolhouse in White City?
Well, the school board would come, the superintendent would come, and
What about a program?
pardon?
Did you have a program?
Oh yeah, we had programs. We had Hank Williams came up here several times and put on a program. And
Had
then,
so many people come they couldn't even get in the house. They had a truck out there and they stood up on those trucks.
so when I first came in, they didn't have any running water in the house. They drank it with had a dipper and a bucket. And so about the first month, we decided we'd have something to make up enough money to put us a pump in the well. So we had a program. Someone from Montgomery had several, but it might have been Hank Williams, I guess it was. And we made enough money that night, and some of the parents gave money too, to put us in a pump.
Was Hank Williams very well known at this time?
Oh, he wasn't known as well as later he became real famous, but he wasn't known to. He'd go out to the country schools and sing, put on programs.
All right, after you all married, you lived on this land,
This place, this little home place.
which is where you have lived all your life, right, Mr. Strock? All right, describe the house to us. What,
Well, it was a 5-room downstairs, and upstairs they had 2 rooms. And there's 3 families, right? 3 families lived here. Miss Strock and her daughter, and Thelma and Houston, Livingston. We all lived here for years.
When did you build the present house that you're in now?
Let's see. It was about 45 years ago. 'Cause Patsy Ann was about 5 years old. We built this house.
And it's built on the spot that the old house. Where did you live during the time that you built the house?
We built a little small tin house out in the backyard. Had a stove and 2 beds and a table. Stayed there till they built it.
In the early days of your marriage, where did you get your food that you?
Well, they raised it here on the farm, most of it. We go to the store and get a few things, but they carry eggs and buy something with those eggs.
Yeah, we lived at home, you see. We had our milk and butter, we had our eggs, we had our meat. We had it all here at home. And our meal.
All right, tell us, how did you get your meat? What kind of meat did you have?
We butchered it here at home.
What did you
Pork.
butcher?
Hog.
Beef and hogs. We'd have beef and we'd have hogs. Had chicken.
All right, tell me about butchering a hog. What was the procedure for hog killing?
Well, we had an old big wash pot and fill up with water and get it to boiling and had a barrel there. We pour that water, hot water in that barrel and get it to a certain temperature and scald the hog. The hair would just come off so good. Then we go ahead and hang him up.
Take its insides out.
Take the entrails all out. Wash him out good.
Then
Hang
what?
him up to a big cold oven, hang him up overnight, let him get cold, and then next morning cut him up into hams and shoulders and side meat.
What?
Pack them in salt.
Hmm?
Pack them in salt.
Yeah.
This was a preservative,
Mhm.
preserving.
Mm-hmm.
What about your vegetables? How did you preserve those?
Well, we canned our beans, and at that time they would the home demonstration. People would come around and try to help the farmers' wives about canning. They'd have places close to a spring somewhere where they'd can these
And the main
tin
place
cans.
was right up there, the depths of that spring right down his lot, right down there. That was the main place we met.
People would carry the produce there and fix it, and they put it in tin cans and seal it, and they would can it.
Now, this was before the days of electricity in this community. Is this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did electricity come to White City?
Well, we had gone off, I guess, to Prattville that afternoon, and that night, the night coming back, and we come back, the whole house was ablaze with light.
We'd had it wired, and
It already been wired and everything, and they come hooked it up that afternoon while we was going to.
So you did know that it was, you prepared for it long
Yeah,
before it got here.
Yeah,
but we didn't know
prepared.
when it was going to turn.
And you
on.
don't remember about when that was?
I was just trying to think.
I have no idea.
What about telephones? Do you know when you got telephones?
Oh, yeah.
We don't remember the date, but
No, I don't remember the date. But it was 8-party line.
8-party line.
8-party line.
Explain how that worked.
well, you'd talk if you could. If someone wasn't using the phone, when you'd ring it, or pick it up. If someone wasn't using it, then you could ring somebody. Then everybody on that 8-party line would know that, and a lot of them would pick up and eavesdrop.
How did you know that the call was for you?
You had certain rings, 3 rings for us, 2 for somebody else.
Long for somebody, 4 shorts, so forth and so on, that different ranks.
All right. In the beginning, as far back as you can remember, how did you get your water, your drinking water, the water you used in your house? At the very beginning.
The branch?
When did you get a well?
Oh, I couldn't tell you.
Did your first well have a pump or a windlass?
Just the windows.
Oh, they would just dig a well and it would cave in, and then they'd have to dig another one. And finally, they would put real frames of wood. I remember when they had one out here, you know, the wood,
Oh, yeah.
instead of the pipes.
That old cupboard wouldn't last too many years 'cause it's wet there, you know, soggy, and it soon rot, begin to fall in.
So they'd fill up that well, and I remember 2 or 3 here that had, so they finally decided to put the
Well,
curbs
there's such
in.
thing as this concrete curbing.
Not back then.
How did you know the water was safe to drink? Was there any testing?
We didn't. We just drank it.
Were there any illnesses that resulted from any bad water in those days?
Not that we know of, because there wasn't as much sickness then as there is now.
Was there any, do you remember any severe illnesses in your life?
Well, I've had the itch. I had the mumps. Yeah.
He had scarlet fever.
I had
almost
scarlet
died.
fever.
That's a serious illness, isn't it? It's not prevalent today, is it?
No.
What did you do for a doctor in those days?
His uncle was a doctor, and they'd have to go to Livington and get him.
How did he get here?
He would come in a buggy.
With a horse and buggy?
Mhm. Now that was early, and then he had him a car later.
Oh,
didn't he?
yeah. Starting with, he just had a horse. And I rode that old horse lots of morning. They traded, there was a bunch of folks up there that traded this horse, and nobody could do anything with him, and some other bunch would get him, you know, for nothing. And so finally Uncle Charlie got a hold of that horse.
That was Dr.
And the way
Strock.
he'd do that horse, he would go out there in the mornings, he lived there in the house with us, go out there in the morning and hitch that horse up and lead him down that up post and tie him. Let that horse stand there until he got ready to go. Maybe 30 or 40 minutes. By that time, that horse was ready to go. But otherwise, when you first hitched that horse up, that horse didn't go. He stood right there. He wouldn't go nowhere.
Was your daughter born at home or in
Yes, she was born here at home.
Did you have a doctor?
Dr. Strock was the doctor.
Well, getting back to the talking about water, what did you do on wash day? Where did you wash if you didn't have running water and a washing machine?
Well, see, at that time we had a well dug, and we washed at the branch then. We used water here at home, but we washed the branch. They had a big pot down there, and fill it up with water, and put your...
Boil them clothes and had a big old block there, you know. You take a paddling thing you paddle clothes with, you know, and beat all the buttons off of them to get them clean.
Well, that was before I started. I never did. We never did.
Oh, that's before you come in, as far as come in this country.
And we just boiled the clothes instead of using Clorox or anything like that. We didn't know anything about that.
But I remember that old paddling thing that very well. Had an old thing, board, you know, they paddled them with, beat all the dirt out of them, and all the buttons off of them.
Well, now that sounds fine on July the 4th, but what did you do in the cold winter about washing your clothes?
You watched it to branch right on.
Didn't it get cold?
It was cold, yeah. I don't deny that. It's cold.
Now, after I came here, we had a colored girl that washed for all of us. She came up here and she'd wash for all of us. Go to the branch, and she'd bring her clothes up and hang them on the line. And we'd bring them in that late after.
What did you do about bathing?
Well, we never did take a bath back then.
Tell me about your lard can.
Oh, yeah. Then fixed me up a frame down there, a lard can with a whole lot of little holes in the bottom.
Uh-huh.
Go dip it up full of water, set it up there, and get under it. Take a shower.
So you made your own homemade shower,
Yeah,
and it was located near the branch.
yeah, right at the branch where you go out and dip it up, set it up, then get under it and take a shower.
There was trees and everything around it, you know.
Well, there wasn't no traffic on the road, or you could stay there all day without any clothes on, nobody would ever see you.
All right, now this branch you keep referring to, this is on your property?
Yep.
About how far away from the house is the branch located?
Well, let's see, it's say a half a quarter. Now you figured out how much you're gonna get out of that. I don't know how I'd tell you about it.
Can you?
Under a hill, down under a hill.
Uh-huh. So on wash day you had to carry the clothes.
Up the hill.
Hang
and
up
down
the other
the
of the house and hang them out. And the cows fronted large then, and you had to watch the cows. They'd come along and chew your clothes if you didn't watch them.
You didn't have fences for the cattle.
Not back earlier than when I came. Now when I came here, they had fences.
All right, you said you farmed all your life as your livelihood. What did you farm with in the beginning?
Georgia plow stock and a mule. Now you don't know what a Georgia plow stock is.
No, sir.
It's just a plow stock with a plow.
How many acres did you farm?
Oh, let's see. I guess all told about 40 acres.
And what crops did you grow?
Cotton, corn, peanuts.
He and his brother farmed together.
How did you get the crops to market?
In a wagon.
Father carrying the wagon back early. I've hauled peanuts from here to Montgomery in the wagon. There were 3 wagon loads of us went to Montgomery at the same time. We left one night about after midnight. And we rolled into Montgomery the next afternoon at sundown at the oil mill. I'd eat so many peanuts and I had the headache. Oh, I had the headache. And we unloaded them peanuts and then we had to go back downtown, find a place to put up our mules at night. Houston got out on the sidewalk, asked the police and all where we find a stable, you know, where we could put up. We finally got them put up. We've got us a place to spend the night. That was it.
In later years, did you get any modern equipment to farm with?
Oh yeah, we had a tractor,
Truck.
no,
Do you remember your first tractor?
yeah,
What was it?
John Deere,
Do you still have it?
yeah, sitting outside the tree way up yonder.
It doesn't run any longer. I
No,
know.
it doesn't run anymore. It's retired.
Just
Little Ford truck.
do you remember the first electrical appliance that you had after you got electricity?
Lights was the first thing we had.
Now that's not an appliance.
No, I was thinking.
Well, I guess a toaster was one thing. I don't know.
Iron. I think iron was about the first thing we got after we had electricity.
How did you iron clothes previous to the electric
We
iron?
had an ironing, but you put charcoal in it, pour kerosene on it, let it, stick a match to it and let it burn till it burned down to coals. Then you put your irons on that. Just heat them. They'd really be hot. And in wintertime, we'd stand them up in front of the fire. After we got coals, fire burned down to a coal, and then we'd put irons in front of the fire.
Yeah, that way you heat them irons, down them up there with them coals and all, you know, they get red hot.
What do you think is the biggest change that you've seen in your 85 years that you've lived?
I think farming is one of the biggest changes that's been made around.
How?
Because when you much more work. I think that was a very good improvement.
I plowed the old mule all day long, come in, feed him, and eat supper myself. Put the saddle on him and ride 5 or 6 miles down to old man Sam Rucker to see a girl. Hold me and boy the old mule.
Mules lived a rough life, didn't they? They had to work hard. What difference do you see in lifestyles of the people now and your lifestyle that you've led?
Wow, dear.
Is it a more mobile society?
Just a much better advancement than what we had.
Well, you were born and have lived 85 years on this property that your father.
Right here.
Do you know of any of the younger generation that could say that? Do you know of anyone?
Yeah. Ask that question again.
Do you know of any of the younger generation who could say that they've lived on the same property for 85
No, ma'am.
years? You think that's unique, unusual? People refer to the good old days. What do you consider the good old days?
Well, I think the good old days, really what people are talking about, I think there was more love shown with the family, the whole family. It seemed like there was more love shown. And there wasn't.
In the good old days, we didn't have a radio, we didn't have a television. We just got together and had a big time.
How did you entertain yourself?
Well, I didn't go to them, but he did before he married. Dances. They had a lot of dances. We'd go to those dances. After I came here, teachers didn't go.
I was a big, I called sets. And Lloyd Ellington would feed me cakes. They kept me to stay on and call sets for them, and then we danced.
Now, calling sets, explaining.
I was laid around and later, and the gent don't go. And so I couldn't call them now to save my life. Gents you ought to know, or something little like that, you know.
Is this what you referred to as square dancing?
Yeah.
Same thing.
The square dance.
Would you go back to the old days, or do you prefer the current?
No, I wouldn't go back to them if I could help it.
I noticed at one point you mentioned in the old house that there were 3 families living in the house at the same time. That is not seen very often today. Did you have problems getting along when you had that many?
Got along just fine. We never did have a first argument, no way, shape, form, or fashion.
And we all cooked right together. Everyone knew his own job, so we all did it. Some would milk, some would do the churning, some of them cook.
In those days, was everybody expected to be at the table at mealtime?
Yes, and have the blessing.
You know, today in our fast-paced society, you kind of eat on the go. And you don't sit down sometimes to eat a meal, but you all were always.
Yes, sir. We always went to that table to eat.
How many times now? You know, today sometimes we don't have, say, 3 square meals a day.
We had 3 meals a day.
Were these cooked from scratch every day?
Every day.
From foods that you had prepared and preserved and grown on the farm?
And we had apple trees and peach trees.
Used to draw a lot of apples. We had those, you've seen those apple peelers, you know. You slip it on there and push it up in there and turn that crank, you know, and that peels them. And we dry apples. We put them out on a sheet, out on top of the tin shed. That hot sun would dry them, you know. We had well-dried apples, and then sack them up or something. Any way we had them, we make apple pies anytime we wanted an apple pie.
What did you do for bread? You didn't go to the store, I assume, and buy a loaf of bread. What kind of bread did you eat?
Cornbread and biscuits.
Where did you get your meal?
We had it ground. We had a mill up here at the store.
Well, the first I ever remember was way down yonder, I forget what I call that down at, I can't tell you what now. We go way down there to the mill, they grind our corn and make bread. Then finally got a mill up here, a grist mill, and go up here.
And they would have grits. They would save us out some grits. They'd be a little coarser than the meal. They would be the grits.
Yeah, they could make grits at those grist mills.
How did you shell the corn? Did you have to shell the corn?
Yeah, we had corn shellers, hand shellers.
And this shelled, what, 1 ear at a time?
Mm-hmm.
And you would shell it and then take it to mill.
Got an old corn sheller line out yonder now.
Take about a bushel of corn up here to mill, have it ground.
What did you feed the animals in those days?
Corn, oats,
Hay. You know,
Well,
fodder.
fodder mostly. We go out there and strip the leaves off of that corn stalk, you know. You get a handful and you tie it around here and you get 3 hands, hang it on a stove and let it dry. But I forget, see if I put it there this morning, I tried it up in the morning. There's 3 in a bundle. Make a bundle out of it. And
Hold it in then when it dries.
well, generally put a pole up out in the field. Now I've seen a lot of poles put up out in the field with something around them. And we stack that fodder around those poles and go way on up here, you know. Back in those days, that was all the roughage there was.
Explain, you mentioned earlier that you had your own butter and milk and egg. Explain the process of making, getting butter from the milk.
Well, they would milk the cow like tonight and in the morning, and then maybe the next evening they'd save all that cream.
We strain that milk, though.
Yeah, we strained it before you used it, of course. And then Miss Strock would have a long table. She'd set big pans of milk on that table, and cream would rise on it. And she would take all that cream off with a cup or a big spoon or something, and put it in a churn with some more milk and just churn it up and down with a dasher and make butter. You take that butter up and wash it and work it and wash it and salt it, mold it. We had little molds. You could put the butter in and mold it.
And pretty little flowers on top of that mold you ever saw on that butter.
All right, you've mentioned that you had your own butter and eggs and milk and your pork that you...
Grits.
What kind of shortening or lard, did you use lard?
Yeah.
All right, you know now we talk about and hear so much of the cholesterol that's in all the foods that you're talking about, yet you all have lived to be 85 years old on a diet of this. How do you feel about this?
Sometimes I wonder about it. We've always, up until, well, several years ago, we quit using that kind of, when we quit killing hogs, we quit using that kind of lard. Went to oil, Crisco.
The unsaturated fat.
Mm-hmm.
So it does make you wonder then
Sorry.
it does make you wonder.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, when we butchered a hog, we cut all that fat off, and then we'd cut it up into small pieces. Put it in a big old pot and boil it. And that dried all that grease out of them, what would be cracklings in. And boy, they made some of the best biscuits you ever eaten in your life. Put them cracklings in biscuits, you know.
Highly saturated, wasn't it?
Well, all the grease was out of those cracklings. And then you could make good crackling cornbread, put that in your cornbread. It was delicious.
Now that was living back then when you had crackling biscuits and crackling cornbread. I never did care for crackling cornbread. But those biscuits, I could eat biscuit and syrup or make a meal anytime.
We never heard of diabetes anyone having diabetes back
They
then.
didn't know nothing about it back then.
And he was born and raised on syrup.
And he is a diabetic.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any of the other of your family that were diabetic?
I guess all of them.
All of his, every one of them, I guess, were.
If you could think of anywhere on earth you could have lived other than White City, is there any place you think you might have liked? You think White City is the best place to live?
I lived with me for 2 years, but I was glad to get back home.
And Maude, do you have any regrets of your coming to?
No, I've always been happy here, but I was used to, I lived in a small town, and I still think about that a lot of times.
Well, we thank you for letting us come today, and we thank you for some of the history of the community of White City.
The house built on the site of the original house built by his father, the land on which Livingston Strock has lived his 85 years. The schoolhouse in which Maude Strock, along with sister-in-law Thelma Strock, taught the 1st through the 6th grades. The building, now unoccupied, stands in disrepair. Under which Livingston Strock's father met along with other men of the community to establish the White Pond Baptist Church. White Pond Baptist Church as it stands today on the original site. Between the church and the school stands the White City Volunteer Fire Department. Albert Manley Strock, nephew, Lowell Strock, great-nephew of Livingston Strock, were charter members and helped construct the building in 1985.